Are you even qualified to talk basketball to me? That's the question Dominique Wilkins posed, not in arrogance, but in frustration. Frustration with a basketball culture that seems to have forgotten the fundamentals, the nuance, and the rhythm that once defined the sport. In Wilkinson's eyes, the game hasn't just evolved, it's lost something. And when people talk about missed three-pointers being more valuable than twos, it's more than just bad logic to him, it's an insult. Dominique Wilkins was a product of a different time. He played when every point was earned through sweat, contact, and grit. The paint was a war zone. The mid-range was an art form. You didn't settle for contact, you embraced it. You didn't launch from 30 feet unless you had to. You attacked, you finished. You left marks on defenders and came away with bruises as trophies. He didn't need to lean on the three-point shot. In fact, during the 1985-86 seasons, Nick averaged 30.3 points per game with barely any reliance on the three. He did it with explosion, footwork, angles, and the kind of shot making that doesn't show up in spreadsheets. And when he hears today's discourse, when someone tells him that a missed three-pointer is somehow better than a made two, his reaction isn't subtle. He cringes, because to him that kind of logic doesn't just ignore common sense, it spits in the face of basketball knowledge. It's the kind of take that makes him question whether the person saying it even understands the game, let alone is qualified to speak on it. The idea that points on the board are somehow less valuable than missed opportunities is absurd to someone who lived the game the way Wilkins did. There was no spacing luxury in the 80s. You earned every inch of space. You earned every shot you got. You didn't have five guys standing around the arc. You had bodies in the paint, hands clawing at you, fouls going uncalled. And through all that chaos, Wilkins was still dominant. He averaged 24.8 points per game across a 15-year career, shot over 46% from the field, and was virtually unstoppable without relying on the three. Compare that to today, where teams routinely launch 40 or more three-pointers per game. For a team with Steph Curry or Damian Lillard, maybe that works, maybe it's even beautiful, but for most of the league, that strategy crumbles without the right personnel. Not every team has gravity shooters. Not every roster can support that kind of system. And yet, the belief that any three is better than virtually any two has become almost gospel. It's become a mathematical religion, and for purists like Nick, it's a dangerous one. Let's be clear, Wilkins isn't anti-evolution. He's not rallying against the three-pointer itself. He's challenging the idea that it's the only shot that matters. That somehow smart basketball has been reduced to one statistic, expected value. But the game isn't that simple. Basketball has always been about balance, about when to shoot, how to read the defense, and understanding when a two-point pull-up off a screen is more deflating to a defense than a missed corner three. And really, that's what's getting lost. Look back at Michael Jordan, widely regarded as the greatest scorer of all time. 10 scoring titles, a 7-year stretch averaging over 30 points, and the bulk of his scoring in the mid-range, post-ups, attacks, punishment. He wasn't just chucking up 30-footers. He was breaking defenders down and making them pay from 15 feet out. The same way Wilkins did. Those types of shots that require timing, rhythm, and touch, are now called bad shots by some analytic circles. And that's where Wilkins draws the line. Because when numbers override nuance, something sacred disappears. The rhythm of the game changes. The identity of players becomes warped. A mid-range assassin becomes expendable. A post threat becomes inefficient. And worst of all, the next generation grows up thinking there's only one right way to play, from 30 feet out. The problem isn't the three-point shot, it's the worship of it. It's the one-size-fits-all ideology that's infecting the game from youth levels to the pros. Wilkins isn't saying we should go back to the 80s. He's saying we need to stop pretending like the 80s never mattered. And if we're being truthful, he has a point. Because what we're seeing now is an entire generation of players who value the spreadsheet over the scoreboard. We've got armchair analysts online treating basketball like a tech startup. We've got fans parroting stats they barely understand, dismissing players who don't shoot threes, and mocking veterans who speak from lived experience. And that disconnect between data and intuition, between modern analysis and traditional knowledge, is growing wider every year. Even in the NBA playoffs, we've seen how this obsession with numbers can backfire. Coaches like Joe Mazzulla and analysts turned coaches like JJ Redick stick rigidly to analytics, even when the eye test and the scoreboard beg for a change. We've seen games where teams shoot themselves out of contention trying to stick to a game plan built on math, not momentum. And yet the narrative persists. More threes, fewer twos. Efficiency above all. Even if it means ignoring the situation, the matchup, or the player's natural strengths. But here's the thing, Wilkins might be right in his frustration, but there is a happy medium. It doesn't have to be the old school versus the new school. It doesn't have to be the analytics versus instinct. The best teams, the truly great ones, find that balance. They use the numbers to inform, not dictate. They empower players to take smart shots, not just statistically safe ones. They understand that basketball is about context. A mid-range jumper from Kevin Durant is a great shot. A post hook from Joel Embiid is a great shot. A floater in the lane from Tyrese Maxey is a great shot. Because they're great players making decisions based on the flow of the game, not a chart. And that's where modern basketball needs to grow. It needs to evolve without erasing its past. It needs to learn from the Dominique Wilkins of the world, not dismiss them. Because when legends speak, there's wisdom in their words, even if they don't always come with graphs. The future of the game doesn't have to look exactly like the past, but it does need to respect it. And part of that respect means acknowledging that there's more than one way to play this beautiful game. We can embrace the three-point shot without turning our backs on everything else. We can build systems that value spacing, shooting, and tempo, while still leaving room for post-ups, pull-ups, and physicality. Because basketball at its best is not just a math problem. It's a dance, it's a war, it's a symphony of chaos and control. And sometimes, the best shot on the floor is the one that gets you 2 points, not 3. That's the point Nick is trying to make. And maybe we should stop dismissing him and start listening. Because as much as we want the game to move forward, it can't do that if we keep turning our backs on the very foundation it was built on. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Has the game gone too far with analytics? Is Dominique Wilkins right? And should we go back to a little bit more 80s? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more upcoming videos and NBA content. My name is Damian Peters, this is Basketball Network. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.